San Francisco 49ers finally addressing the defensive line in the 2023 NFL Draft, picking a Georgia Bulldog, Robert Beal Jr. here in the 5th round. Today's breakdown of Robert Beal Jr. as a prospect is presented by Manscaped. 20% off free shipping at manscaped.com/49ers. We're going to put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. So what San Francisco has done so far is pretty interesting, right? And it goes along with the philosophy of drafting best player available, but also meshing that with need. They needed a safety, got it in Jair Brown. Needed a kicker to replace Robbie Gould, got him in Jake Moody. Needed a future George Kittle replacement potentially, or at least a high-quality backup, Cameron Latou. They went cornerback a little bit earlier in Darrell Luter Jr., and now they go edge rusher. Another need here with Robert Beal Jr., the edge out of Georgia. He's a little bit older as he enters his first year in the National Football League at 24 years old. He grew up in South Georgia. In his young days, he was primarily a basketball player and an avid bowler. Interesting facts there. I think bowling is an underrated sport, by the way. Solid size at 6'3", 3/4 inches, 247 pounds. And anytime the Niners take a defensive lineman, you get excited about the prospects of that defensive lineman, right? And if I said offensive lineman, I meant defensive lineman. I'm not sure what I said. It's been a long NFL draft here, but we keep it pushing here, and we're pushing P on the Niners report. So anytime the Niners take a defensive lineman, you get excited because Chris Kocurek is the best defensive line coach in the National Football League. And he finds a way to maximize the talent level for players. And he develops these defensive linemen into very good players. And his latest project is Robert Beal Jr. He is a very toolsy player as we pivot over to our scouting report here with a lot of speed and length. So toolsy player who has a couple of moves to his pass rush arsenal coming off the edge. He has speed and he has length. Those are attributes that this organization looks for in an edge rusher. He could help early on special teams. That's another need for the Niners. They got much better in special teams coverage last year. So he can really be an impactful player as a rookie, at the very least as a special teamer, and maybe on some early clear pass rushing downs as well. He spent 6 years at Georgia, but didn't play or produce a ton. But keep in mind that with the Georgia Bulldogs, they had two of the best defenses in the history, and I mean the history of college football the last 2 years, and that's why they were en route to those 2 national championship games. So he's behind a lot of really good players who ended up getting drafted in the 1st round, 2nd round, 3rd round. And Robert Beal Jr., because of that, didn't get a lot of snaps. He slides to the 5th, but does have a lot of ability. Now, he is raw in his pass rush plans. Sometimes he's thinking about it too much with what move he wants to set up with, right? And I think that Chris Kocurek is going to be able to help him in that regard with kind of work out the kinks there to a certain degree. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, so he did go to Georgia with a little bit of pedigree. He was the number 8 weak side defensive end in the 2017 recruiting class and the number 11 recruit in Georgia with over 36 scholarship offers. He had his choice of basically wherever he wanted to go. It included Alabama. It included Florida State, Clemson, LSU, Michigan, Ohio State, Stanford, Texas, USC. Some of those schools, you don't get in there if you're not a smart individual. So I think the Niners get a high-character guy here who's also very, very intelligent. He initially committed to Notre Dame during his junior season in 2015, but decommitted a couple of years later. And his production over the last couple of years, 6.5 sacks actually in 2021 when Georgia won the national championship. It actually led the Georgia Bulldogs that year. Now we're going to continue to talk about him as the newest San Francisco 49er, round 5, 173 here in the 5th round. But first, make sure you subscribe to the show. We've been able to pick up a lot of subscribers, and we recently surpassed 80,000 subscribers. The next milestone that we're shooting for is 100,000 subscribers. That means that YouTube sends us a plaque, and it puts us in the upper echelon of all sports channels on YouTube, not just Niners channels. So if you want content and you want to stay informed every day on the Niners, I do shows literally every day here on the show. Subscribe and lock us in. So his numbers year by year, he redshirted in 2017 despite being a 4-star recruit with a lot of offers out there. In 2018, played in 11 games, 0 starts, only had 1 sack. 2019, 11 games played, 0 starts. He didn't have a sack. In 2020, 7 games played. As he entered the transfer portal, 0 sacks. In 2021, though, he has 6.5 sacks. And then in 2022, 15 games played, 8 starts. So he wasn't a consistent starter for the Georgia Bulldogs, and he had 3 sacks that year. He entered the transfer portal, but then he withdrew from the transfer portal. He stayed with Georgia. They do a great job of developing defensive players, and Robert Beal Jr., one of them. He is raw, according to the Athletic Stain Brugler, with his pass rush setup and execution versus the run, but he has the size, speed profile, and splash plays that suggest he could be a better pro than a college player. He is worth the gamble somewhere in the middle of day 3 of this draft, and that's exactly where the San Francisco 49ers get him. As for his size, 6'3", 247, long arms, 34 inches, wingspan of 82 inches. He ran a 4.44 40-yard dash at 247 pounds. That's really, really impressive there. And he adds a speed element and a nice athletic element to this defensive line as an immediate depth piece for San Francisco. More on Robert Beal coming up. You see how he has that little beard there? Well, if you want a beard like a pro, like Robert Beal Jr., you could beard like a pro with Manscaped. Support our show by using the promo code 49ers. You use that, and you let Manscaped know that the 49ers Report sent you. Breaking news. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do-do. Robert Beal to the Niners, but also breaking news, Manscaped has launched new beard products. Growing a legendary beard just got easier. And here's the deal for the faithful. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/49ers. You can get the best men's grooming products for you below the belt, which includes the Lawnmower 4.0, which we're showing you here. This is something that I use very, very routinely because you don't want a George W. Bush down below the belt. You don't want a fat beard below your waist. You want to look trimmed up for your significant other, and you can do that with interchangeable blades, safeguard technology, a battery life that lasts forever, and then you can also beard like a pro with their new beard products as well. It's 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com/49ers. We will put that link in the comment section and in the description of this video. As for the strengths for Robert Beal Jr., taking a look at some scouting notes here. He looks the part with enviable size, musculature, stature, and length. His first step burst when that ball is snapped, and the stride acceleration gets him going where he wants to in a hurry. Blazing speed. I mean, 4.44 40-yard dash really is impressive. He's able to attack and slap the outside hand of blockers and then flatten that to the quarterback there coming off that edge. He has an effective counter-punching to grab and pull blockers off balance. He displays lateral quickness and vertical quickness to really get past some of these offensive linemen. As for some of his weaknesses, as you look at some of the pre-draft testing numbers here, the 4.44 40-yard dash is what makes the Niners excited here. He is undeveloped pass rush sequence, meaning he has to develop some pass rushing moves here. Quick to shoot his hands, but struggles to work off his initial attack. Rush moves are sporadic and often mistimed. Chris Kocurek, though, can work with the athletic profile, and Chris Kocurek can help develop him into a good player. Tends to be a tick late with his play development, but it takes Chris Kocurek to tell you, hey, Robert Beal Jr., this is what you have to look out for here. These are some of the tendencies that you want to identify, and if he's able to do that, very, very intriguing pick for the San Francisco 49ers here on day 3. They needed a backup edge rusher. Maybe Robert Beal Jr. can beat that over time and a cost-controlled player. Look, the last couple of years, you've lost Charles Omenihu. You've lost Arden Key. You've lost some edge rushers who have gotten paid by some other teams in the NFL. Why is that? Because the Niners developed them into good players, when they were once cost-controlled assets and they end up being quality players over time. Now, the Niners still have a need at offensive tackle. And there are some offensive tackles available here that we do want to get to. Jalen Duncan's still on the board. You know, Matt Mayoko had reported, don't be surprised if the Niners do not go offensive tackle. My gosh, they still haven't addressed that area. But Jalen Duncan, he's still out there. Ryan Hayes, quality player out of Michigan. I would take a chance on any of those two players as developmental projects. Jake Witt, he's also out there too. And then John Ojuwuku, the 18th overall offensive tackle in this draft class. So, you look at this Niners roster here, and you think about what they need. I don't think there's any doubt that the Niners need an offensive tackle. Do they really like Nick Zakelj? They might really like Nick Zakelj, who they drafted last year. And if he ends up being a good player, I understand it, right? But I haven't seen anything to tell me that he can be a starter in this league. Colton McKivitz has been a journeyman for a reason. Matthew Pryor has filled in at tackle, guard, could play literally every single spot on the offensive line outside of center. But you're telling me he's going to be the starter for a potential team that can make it to the Super Bowl? That's what I do not understand. So the Niners' biggest positional need is what? Join the conversation down in the comments section. We appreciate y'all for watching. Niners are shooting arrows with these draft picks. We're doing the same here on the show, and we're going to continue to bring the heat.